Chinyere. My name is Tunde Onakoya, and I'm a National Master of Chess. I'm the convener of a non-profit organization called Chess and Slums. So in essence, Chess and Slums, it's an organization that uses the game of chess as a tool to foster the intellectual development of children in impoverished communities. And we've been doing this for about 7 years. We now have centers in about 25 countries in Africa. I've been able to reach about 100,000 children to help give children an entry point into education and in the intellectual development is understanding that the real consequence of poverty is not the way the West likes to define it, living below the $2 line. I think it goes much deeper than that. And we say that Africa has a lot of potential, but potential is nothing if it's not realized. And what are the people that represent, the potential that Africa has? Is the children, is the young people, and there's a lot of data that points us in that direction. So if we're having 20 million children in Nigeria, for example, that cannot go to school, then that future, we may become a liability to that future, right? And like I said earlier, the consequence of poverty is that children are born into the situations where they're fully conditioned by their parents' poverty. And before they have any agency, that situation has fully morphed them and they have no way to contribute any real value to the global markets. So we're trying to disrupt that cycle by coming to the very basic community level and introducing chess programs to give the children a beginning in education, an entry point into learning to become critical thinkers. Because chess, promotes abstract thinking and a lot of the core skills and competencies that are needed for the future of work. I believe if we can raise stronger children that can be critical thinkers, and we can raise stronger thinkers, then Africa will participate in that future. And that is how we really create prosperity. So our vision is to reach 1 million children across all the slums in Africa and start that intellectual revolution that can help them know what they can truly become. Thank you.
Just clap for that. I meet the demands of the future, and you can talk a little bit about the way that you guys are training and educating children today.
All right. So I was watching an interview a couple of days ago that Tim Cook gave, the CEO of Apple, and he was talking about China and how there's an advanced tooling that is needed to build the iPhone. And he talked about how, the world still thinks, China is the place where you go for low cost of labor. I said, that is not true, and that has changed, seriously. And the reason why they still go back to China is because, like I said, there's a specific tooling that is needed to build the iPhone. And it says in the US, you can maybe fill a room with the tooling engineers that can do that. But if you go to China, you can fill multiple stadiums with the tooling engineers that are needed to build their product. Now, what has China done differently? China has designed their education system at vocational level. That is why you see children, even in their 5th grade, already doing very high-level vocational activities, because they understand that the world will come to them for that specific kind of engineering and manufacturing. Maybe America has a lot of brilliant software engineers, but the world is evolving and a lot is going to change. And I think we need to rethink, our archaic educational system in Africa. I mean, for me, chess is just the medium, and I like to say this. The science explains that, it grows dendrites on both sides of the brain, and, there are specific skills that are needed for the future of work and emerging technologies, abstract thinking, and skills that can be adapted across board. So I don't see chess in itself as the end, but as a means to several ends, where we can help children develop intellectual capacity. Because if we have 20 million children again in Nigeria that are out of school, that is a problem, a real problem. But there's an even greater tragedy. There are several more millions in school that are not learning anything that will be relevant to the global markets. So how do we expect our population to participate in that without being a liability to it? If you have a child that cannot read and write, that cannot interact with technology, then we're not going to participate in this future. And our population is going to be a problem, not just to our own communities, but even to the diasporan community. Yeah? So we need to fix that. And we need to find new entry points into a vocational level. And I think that is what we should focus on the next 50 to 100 years. I mean, of course, technology, definitely, because the world is going to be looking to Africa for talent, right? And what are we doing? What deliberate efforts are we really taking to be the world's #1 exporter of global talent? And I'll say this finally, and it's such an interesting thing because I've been thinking about it very recently. The world demands our raw materials, and it rejects our finished product. But then the world desires our educated workforce. But then it classifies our less educated workforce as refugees. This is the African challenge, that we export less raw materials and we develop our people. That is our single greatest product. And that can only be tackled at the educational level. And it begins with the children. The only reason why I'm in this room, I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. I've lived all my life there. I grew up in a very small slum community in a village somewhere in Ikorodu. And where I come from, a lot of the children don't make it out. And what they eventually resolve to is the internet scam. And we don't know how this narrative plagues us, especially if you're from Nigeria. There's that little apprehension, the Nigerian prince jokes. And it is very harmful because that is the single story. And we all know the danger of the single story. It's not that it is untrue, but that it is incomplete, right? And the reason why we have the story is because when poverty, which underpins a lot of our problems, the children will find new ways to survive. And because they're very smart, they're going to find pathways to survive, whatever it takes. So he and I collaborated recently on a project to solve that problem. And we got, through our chess program, we started to find talented teenagers with a lot of will, and we're able to put them on a path, towards technology. And those same children have done projects even for Future Africa. Teenagers, right? So this is where I think we should be thinking if we want to really position Africa. It's the children that are the fundamental building block of our society. And they will be the letters that we're sending to a future that even we will not see. Thank you.
Yeah.